Hey, hockey fans, happy Wednesday. You're listening to Locked On NHL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you all sorts of news and fun stuff all about our favorite, maybe, hockey league. Anyway, that's a whole other story. My name is Sarah Avampato, host of Locked On Kings. Glad to be here with you. I am joined, as always, by partner in crime, Jess Belmosto of Locked On Calgary Flames. And before we get into the fun part of today's show, we do have some other fun things happening here on Locked On NHL. Like, I don't know who the season's top 50 NHL players are. Well, you can find that out on this very podcast. Joe DiBiase, Mike Stefano, and Rachel Donner all reveal the top 50 players as voted on by all of us, the local experts across the Locked On NHL network of podcasts. Yesterday, the 24th, you heard our episode about players who didn't make the cut. Spoiler alert, my very own Andre Kopitar didn't make the cut, which is quite honestly a crime. If you missed that episode, go back and listen to it. On Friday, we start the actual countdown, starting with pick number 50. So players 50 through 41 will be revealed on Friday. So make sure you check that out. Subscribe, of course, to this podcast on YouTube and turn your notifications on there so that you never miss an episode. So we're kind of going to talk about a snub today a little bit, because we're going to talk about Arizona, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
They have been snubbed by their own city.
They sure have. The city of Glendale said, right? It's Glendale, technically, said, thanks, but no thanks. Your lease is up.
And it's just like the latest in a long line of indignities for the Arizona Coyotes, I feel like. I guess that they had been going essentially year to year in their lease, which anyone who's ever lived in an apartment on a year-to-year lease knows that there's some potential for chaos there. Yeah, not great. But the city of Glendale has said, no more. We're not doing any more of that nonsense. You're done. We think we can have more profitable tenants come in, even if it's not an anchor tenant like a hockey team that's guaranteed 40 whatever games. They think they can bring more profit to the city of Glendale in other ways. So congratulations to the Coyotes for having a mess to deal with. There's some talk that this was just like a negotiating ploy on behalf of the city, but everyone from the city is like, no, we mean it. We're done.
That has to be so embarrassing, because you think about it and it's just like, okay, most cities are so excited and so happy to have that revenue, that source of revenue, and what it brings to the economy. And Glendale just said, you're actually hurting us. So good luck. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. And I think one of the more positive things I've seen about this is just the fans kind of coming together and being like, no, this isn't about us being like a non-traditional market or anything like that. Hockey can work in the desert. Look at Vegas. And it appears to just kind of be the organization. And I don't think it has anything to do with the players, but we have seen how many reports about the hostile work environment in Arizona. And, if it's starting at the top like that, I think it kind of trickles down and it has a little bit of a domino effect.
Yeah. And it just seems like everything there is chaos all of the time. And I just feel so bad for Coyotes fans, because
I do too.
They don't deserve this nonsense. They have a team that is never competitive except for like a few very brief windows, because of it's basically like Buffalo of the West, except Buffalo has like a long storied history of being a franchise and whatever, and Arizona and isn't a traditional hockey market, stone's throw away from Toronto. Arizona, everyone is like, oh, ha, desert hockey, it'll never work. And so people are now looking for excuses to move the team. But it's just, those fans don't deserve this nonsense. And it's all because of money and poor management, and management not even fielding a team that is competitive. And so then people don't want to go to the games because they're just going to watch them lose again. And so then no one goes to the game. So then the arena's empty. And so then everyone is like, well, why should we care about this? Because no one goes. It's just a big bad circle. And the real losers here are the fans. The city and wherever the Coyotes move to and the team, they'll be fine. But, you'd have to think this is turning off some hockey fans who are just frustrated by the mismanagement and all they want to do is watch hockey.
Exactly. I think that the comparison to Buffalo is a good one. And I mean, I'm sure that this information is out there somewhere. I just
Mhm.
thought of it off the top of my head. But I wonder how the season ticket holder sales are in Arizona.
Mhm.
Because I know in Buffalo, they may be a crummy hockey team, but people still go to those
Uh-huh.
events. They still repurchase year after year, and I'm a little curious to see what it's like in Arizona, just because I think that that obviously has a monumental impact on
Mhm.
the kind of money they bring in.
Yeah, it can't be good because I mean I feel like you watch any Coyotes game and if a big ticket team from not Arizona is coming in, then the stands are I feel like the example is always when Chicago comes to town, the
Yep,
arena is basically like United Center West. But yeah, Buffalo just has such a dedicated fan base, regardless of the fact that they stink. I've been to a game in Buffalo and they did stink, and that arena was still very, very full of people there. I was actually there sitting next to a guy who was like, I'm there in my Kings jersey as a visiting fan, and the Buffalo was winning, and the guy and I were making small talk, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, Buffalo, the Sabres are going to find a way to mess this up." Guess what? They messed
they
it up.
did.
So like the fans know, but it just seems like in Arizona, they've just people have just checked out, and I don't blame them because they're not getting their money's worth. That's for sure.
No. And the low attendance thing, I mean, you can compare it to a bunch of different teams at a different time, but I think of the Florida Panthers even three
Mm-hmm.
years ago when the only people that were in the stands were people who were older and
Mm-hmm.
retired and living in Florida
Mm-hmm.
and were at the games because it cost less than $20 to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So best of luck to Arizona because
Mm-hmm.
this can't be easy for the fans.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see where they end up. I feel like the league has committed so much to keeping that team in Arizona that they will find something that works,
Yeah.
which is good. But it's a long, long road for that team to be, you know, good again.
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to take. And I feel like Buffalo is an anomaly where like
Mm-hmm.
you can't really say, oh, this team's the next Buffalo because you don't get that. But
Yeah.
I think Arizona is like almost there, but I think that they'll figure it out hopefully before they completely spiral.
Well, fingers crossed on that. When we come back from sharing some more information with you, we're going to talk a little bit just about being hockey fans and being hockey fans who are covering teams and how we got to where we are and just some little fun moments to kind of lighten up your Wednesday as you wait for the top 50 NHL players to be revealed. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But one place that I bet you can probably place a bet on where the Coyotes are going to end up at is betonline.ag. So just tell the folks all out there all about BetOnline.
BetOnline is one of my favorite websites to just snoop around and see what people are betting on because they really have it covered, like you said, from the most random things like where Arizona might relocate to which politician might resign to, preseason football, baseball, NHL stuff. Like there's already Stanley Cup odds out there, and betonline.ag has it all. And you can get in on the action with your free account. And Sarah, do you like things that are free?
I love free things. It makes the world go round.
Exactly. Free is just it's for me. I love it. So you can head on over on your desktop or your mobile device to sign up for your free account with BetOnline AG. sign up today and make that first deposit. And of course, use promo code locked on for a 50% welcome bonus. Yes, you heard me correctly, a 50% welcome bonus when you use promo code locked on when you sign up and make your first deposit on BetOnline AG.
All right. And if you're going to be betting on sports, then you're probably going to want to be watching sports. So does this sound familiar to you? You've got one device that you can catch a game live, another game where you can stream your favorite things. You're watching sports highlights on your phone. You're using your buddy's login for all the other good stuff. It's just a lot is going on. Well, we have a simple way for you to get all the entertainment that you love without all that hassle, and a great way to finally get all of your TV sources all together. It is called Direct TV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes, no need to buy another device ever again, which is great because I've got like 4 remotes and only one of them have batteries, basically. So this already sounds amazing. The best part, there is no annual contract. So you can get rid of the clutter, I could use that, and the confusion, and get your TV together with Direct TV Stream. You can learn more at Direct TV, that's DRICTV, no extra T.com. That's directtv.com, DIRECTV.com. A compatible device is required and content varies by package. So sports, we can watch sports. You can watch sports on DirecTV, or you could be, someone who watched sports growing up or only became a sports fan now or whatever. So we figured we would spend a little time today talking about how we got to be hockey people and how we got to be here, really, covering our own teams on Locked On and just what makes us love this sport so much. So Jess, how did you get here? How did you become a hockey person?
There's like no like clear distinct moment in my life other than my dad taking my brother and I to TD Garden. It was a Christmas present to see the Bruins play the Carolina Hurricanes. And I was very confused because I just assumed that, if you play for a team, you're from there. I was like 7 or 8 at the time, so like I promise I wasn't an adult. And I just remember asking my dad, I'm like, Dad, how do they know how to skate? It doesn't get cold in North Carolina. And he was like, oh God, why did I bring this child? But growing up in Boston was just kind of championship city and title town and all this stuff, so it was kind of natural to gravitate towards sports. A lot of people obviously grew up Patriots fans, and there's one thing about Boston, and it's just fans are passionate. You are just a diehard fan regardless. So growing up and watching them win the cup, watching them lose the cup in 2013, and then of course in 2019, but that's I was an adult then, so it doesn't count. But just kind of the ups and downs, and the more downs than ups, I would say. It was a really great thing to bond over with my dad and my brother, so it was just kind of something to watch too during the winter, so can't really complain there.
That's really cute. The how do they know how to skate? I love that, because I feel like that's totally a kid thing to think, because you're like, oh, my high school football team, like, yeah, they're all from there, of course they're all from around here,
right? Like they're not adorable. All like European or Canadian. It's fine. Like they're specifically from Raleigh. That's it.
I mean, that could make life a lot more interesting if that's how hockey worked. So I grew up in, my dad was also the sports guy in the house. And I feel like he was always more basketball. Like that was his thing. And he played basketball growing up, and he used to coach basketball. At one point he actually stopped coaching. I hope my mom would not be listening to this show, but regardless, I probably shouldn't tell this story, but I will anyway. He stopped coaching kids because he got really mad because it was part of the when sports teams just started being like, and everyone gets a trophy for
Yeah.
participating. My dad was fundamentally opposed to that. So, he stopped coaching, but I think they were always disappointed that I showed absolutely zero aptitude for sports. But and still do not show any skill for it whatsoever, except
Preaching
for
to the choir there.
very
I hear
poorly
you.
playing hockey. But so like hockey though was a thing in my house, mostly because I grew up outside of Pittsburgh in the early 90s, which was when they won Stanley Cups and Mario Lemieux was the thing and Jaromir Jagr was the thing. And so of course you were a fan of them. And growing up, seeing that team win back-to-back cups and getting to be a fan of them that way and going to see games in the old demolished Civic Arena and sitting, way up tippy top, like last row. And, as a little kid, just being like, this is loud. Why is that horn so loud? But it was, always something to, bond with my dad over, of watching sports and yelling at sports with him because,
yes.
That's how it was. But I feel like I stopped paying attention to sports for a while as, a teen and in college and everything. And then when I came back to paying attention, I would get messages from my mom that would be like, oh, the Penguins just drafted this nice boy. His name is Sydney, and I was like, okay, cool, Mom. But when I started paying attention again, one of the first things I realized was that Jaromir Jagr was still playing, which was amazing to me. I was like, but this guy played when I was 9 and he's still here. Okay, cool. That's cool. So that was a big thing that stood out to me. But it was interesting in getting back into hockey as an adult because my parents were used to me not being a sports person. And then suddenly they were like, what's happening? Why do you care about the sport thing now?
It's not a phase, Mom.
I feel like they're always very curious about what's happening, but it was just one of those things where it was, in addition to something fun to do, to have to talk about with my dad, it was just, you watch them and you're like, how do they do that? Like, especially as someone who doesn't really skate very well. You're like, how do they move so fast? Like, I just started watching it because I was like, I don't understand what's happening and I need to know more.
Yeah, the physics behind the game, like I'm not a science person at all, or an equations person, but just like the physics behind it and how you look at Connor McDavid and you're like, how do you do that? Like you can't teach someone to replicate that.
There was some video once that it had Nate McKinnon, I believe it was him, skating against a speed skater. And it broke down how they both, how their strides are basically. And it put it into super slow motion. And suddenly I was like, that's how a crossover works.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this takes them 3 seconds, but my brain is still processing this.
Yeah, it's amazing. And just, I love, one of my friends calls it stupid human tricks, essentially, of being really, really good at one very niche thing. And hockey is such a extra niche thing.
Oh yeah.
That, you have to be good at so many things. And also, P.S., you're doing it with knives strapped to your feet.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's surprise. I could never. I watched my cousin play. I watched my friends play through middle school and elementary school up till high school, and I'm not an athletic person. They put me in goalie in youth soccer because I told them I don't run. My mom made me sign up, and they're like, okay, well, we'll just put you in goalie and just don't get too distracted. So I can't imagine having or being a child that wakes up at 4:30 day in and day out to go down to the local rink, to go practice before school, before the sun's even up. I am all set. Congrats on making all that money, but I think I'll just stick to being unathletic.
Yeah, no, getting up that early, that even if I had shown any, athletic prowess as a kid, the fact that you have to get up that early would not have flown for me at all.
No, and
No.
I really don't think it would have flown for my parents either, because they weren't really morning people. So I can't imagine being like, okay, I'm gonna play this really expensive sport and we're gonna get up before the sun wakes up. Like, let's go. Like, no.
Right.
And I always think my
Amazing.
parents were like kind of grateful for that. At least that's what I'll just tell myself.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're going to close things out by talking about some of our favorite hockey memories, because I think everyone has a favorite game or a favorite thing that they experienced in their lifetime of being a hockey fan. So we're going to close things out with that. Before we get there, though, let's hear all about rockauto.com, because I bet you need to fix something on your car.
If you're like me, your dashboard has all these pretty lights lit up on it, or something doesn't work. You have all these little badges and all these little, like, Christmas lights on your car, and rockauto.com they'll help you. They will help you solve these problems. And actually, last week or the week before, I had to replace my right front window regulator. Don't know what that is, but the mechanic told me about it and told me, you can go buy this yourself, or I can buy it. And I was like, no, 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 no. Rock Auto is here for me, bud. So I was able to replace that and have my window go up and down finally, so I don't have to strap a trash bag to it. And rockauto.com has everything you need for every make, model, year that you can hopefully that's still safely on the road. Otherwise, that's a bigger problem that I can't solve for you today. But rockauto.com has a fantastic inventory, low prices. They make it so easy to check out and to just get what you need without dealing with a condescending mechanic or a cashier, someone who really isn't there to help you. And you can head on over to rockauto.com today and use their "How did you hear about us" box to put Locked On in it. So you write Locked On in their "How did you hear about us" section, so they know that we sent you.
Well, while you're waiting for your package to be delivered from rockauto.com with all your cool new car parts, you can also go and check out Built Bar. You can have a nice, delicious snack while you're, sitting out there waiting for the post office to deliver you things. Built Bars are delicious tasting protein bars. They taste like a candy bar, but they're actually good for you. They're high in protein, high in fiber, low carbs, low sugar, and just actually a good thing to eat when you need some energy, when you need a little bit of a boost, and you can know that you're eating something that is all natural and is gonna be great for you and your body. It's healthy, which is a very weird thing to say about something covered in 100% chocolate, but it really is. They come in a ton of great flavors. They always have special limited edition flavors. So you want to make sure you're always going to built.com to see what they've got. If you can't pick a favorite, well, you can try a variety box. It's one that has options. It has all the different flavors. You can create your own boxes. You have many different ways to try a Built Bar and figure out which is your favorite. So go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. That is promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. We've all got favorite hockey memories. Some of them may be good games, maybe bad games. I've got a couple that stand out to me, but I feel like you, especially, growing up in, TD Garden land, there's been some like crazy Bruin stuff that's happened. What do you have any favorite memories, favorite games, either ones you've been to in person or just, in general?
So I think that it's only right for me to start this off with Jimmy Hayes's hat trick.
Yeah.
That was just something that no one ever was like expecting. And, for a while, like I just kind of like forgot about it. And then one day it showed up on my Twitter feed and I was like, oh yeah, the kid from Dorchester. He, just a great guy all around, and tough loss for the hockey community. But, I think that there have just been so many games that I've gone to that have ended in just a complete disaster. But, at least they won the one playoff game I went to. It was game one of the second round back in 2019 against Columbus, and it went to overtime. And Charlie Coyle scored the game winner, and it was the first and only playoff game I've ever gone to. And it was nuts. I'd never been somewhere that was so loud. Patrice Bergeron actually fought someone at my friend's first hockey game that she went to. And Pasta had a hat trick, but I think he ended up scoring 4 goals. Yeah. And she was like, wow, I got to go to hockey games more often. I was like, no. I mean, yes.
Don't tell her they're not always like that.
And she was just so excited. And, you know, I love going to games with people who like don't get to go often, because they're like, it's just like a kid on Christmas morning, like watching them, like, wow, this is so exciting. And, you know, I think that it's so important to try to get new fans into the game. But, you know, it's a little expensive. But again, happy thoughts.
Yeah, I feel like I've been to a couple of games in Boston. I travel a lot and occasionally will follow the Kings around on a little bit of a road trip where I have a bunch of friends out there. So I will go see a game. And I mean, first off, every time I'm there, I'm like, why is it so expensive? Which the pro of living in Chicago, where the team is really, really bad now, is that you can generally get tickets a little cheaper than usual. But I was in Boston a couple years ago following the Kings on one of their East Coast road trips, and I was just like, man, like every ticket is just wild. And then I realized it was the game honoring Patrice Bergeron for his 1,000th game, I believe it was. I think that was the milestone. It was. He just has so many accolades that, you know, it could be anything. And so I was like, oh, that's why. I mean, it's expensive anyway, but, you know, it was even more. But it was nice as someone who admires Patrice Bergeron to get to see that coincidentally, to be there for it. But I think one of my favorite hockey games that I've been to was a playoff game in Chicago. And it was the game where they eliminated Nashville from the playoffs. And that was the whole series with the Corey Crawford, Scott Darling stuff. And, you know, the first game of the series was, you know, Crawford got pulled, Darling got put in and saved the day. Well, the last game of the series, the reverse happened. Darling was in net, let in a whole bunch of goals real early. Joel Quenneville gave him the yank and replaced him with Crawford, who, you know, stood tall than the rest of the game. And then the Chicago won. That was a game where I was like, you can feel the energy of the crowd. And if they didn't win that game, it was going to be very unpleasant.
Yes.
And getting to see that series unfold and getting to be there for the last game was maybe one of the more intense games that I've been to, just because of all the drama that had already unfolded in that series. And then, you know, elimination game, here we go. And that stadium is always very loud. I mean, not so much when the team is bad, but in good times, that stadium is just as loud and annoying to play in, I'm sure, as people say it is. But definitely one of my favorite games that I've gone to, just because of the crowd and the energy that you got, especially as it got closer to the final horn. You were like, the roof is going to come off this place with how hyped up people are right now.
Oh yeah, I think that would probably go down in history as, like, if I attended that, like, the number one game.
I also think the first Kings game that I ever saw at Staples Center was, I think it was against the Blue Jackets, I believe. And it was like a very Kings game in that, you know, I think it went to overtime. Someone got in a stupid fight. It was just very, like, Jonathan Quick did something ridiculous. It was just very, everything I wanted was what happened. And then I also went to a Ducks game, I think, in that same trip, and it was a Kings Ducks game, and not surprisingly, resulted in just an all out like line brawl
Oh, I
equipment all
love
over the
that.
ice, because of course it did between those two teams. I was just sitting there being like, this is everything I ever wanted from a Kings Ducks game, and it is unfolding right in front of me.
I feel like I've gotten like really lucky when it comes to games because, you know, it could be an absolute disaster, like 9-2 for Lucic's return, or it could just be like you said, like a whole production and just like a fight, goalies getting pulled and like all this stuff like that. That's fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like that's more exciting than the actual gameplay, but you know, I do appreciate some good hockey, but if I can get a little, you know, a little drama, little production in there, I'll take it.
Yeah, that's how you get people to come back is, I mean, and
Exactly.
I definitely, I feel like we've probably talked about it on here. Anyone who listens to Locked On Kings knows that I'm certainly not a proponent of fighting in hockey. I sure wish we saw a lot less of it, and I'm glad that we're seeing less of it. But the whole sort of drama, it doesn't even have to be a fight, but just some kind of ridiculous sports drama
Some sort
creates
of
fans.
chirping. It does.
Yeah.
Like who was it? It was Brandon Tanev
Mm,
to Connor Clifton this season, just like full on screaming at him, saying, like, you're not the sheriff. Like, I don't know who you think.
that's
And
right.
like, yes, actually, was it? I don't remember if it was Clifton or Trent Frederick, but either way, just like, please throw it on a t-shirt and give me all of this.
Yeah. Or I mean, even Nikita Kucherov's, popping beers and
Oh yeah.
expletive laced news pressers after the cup, that it gets people talking and it makes it fun. So I've certainly, I'm sure you have too, been to my share of games where you're just like, why is this still happening to me?
Oh yeah. Like, and you mentioned the Nikita Kucherov thing, and I just think of like Tom Brady
Mm-hmm.
getting off of the boat this
Mm-hmm.
past Super Bowl parade that they had, and just like stumbling, and like I'm sure that Nikita Kucherov took a little bit of inspiration that day. It was just like, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it. I mean, you did just go back to back. So like I think that having, a little ego there is fine.
Yeah.
So
I
just
think
do it.
anything goes.
Please have a personality and don't just be like blah and
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah. That's the dream right there,
Right.
is that everyone in the sport starts having fun. Well, I am looking forward to getting to see some of more of these wild moments in person. I hope I see, 100 penalty minutes and every duck gets ejected or something. And
Yeah.
Todd McClellan gets thrown out because he got mad or something. I just want fun and wildness, and I can't wait to actually get to see hockey games in person. Knock on wood, it looks like it'll happen this season.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully.
I can't wait for us to compare notes and see who gets to see the wildest stuff this coming season, because it's getting close. So I can't wait. I know you can't either, and we'll be talking about all of it here on Locked On NHL. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed our little dive into our own hockey fandoms, and think good thoughts for the Coyotes, I guess.
Yeah.
Just for people who want to hear more from you, where can they find you and Locked On Flames out there online?
Sure. So you can always follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto, and you can hear Locked On Flames wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
All right. And I am on Twitter at Right Said Sarah. That's WRITE, said Sarah with an H. You can find Locked On Kings wherever you get podcasts, and also at Locked On LA Kings on Twitter. This show is at Locked On NHL Pods on Twitter. Make sure you're following along there for updates and cool stuff that is happening across the network. Like I said at the top of the show, we are talking about our top 50 NHL players that are currently playing. So no Wayne Gretzky or anything. Sorry, Wayne. But you can hear all of that here on this show on Locked On NHL. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure you go leave a rating, leave a review, tell people how much you're enjoying the show. Tell your friends all about it. Send a link out, tweet at them. I don't know. write them a letter. That'd be cool.
I always say send it to your ex with no context. Just drop the link and just see what they say.
That's amazing. I if someone does that, I want you to tweet at one of us and tell us how it went. Like screenshot it or something. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I think that it would just be fantastic. And it's a great way to start a conversation with your ex if you're trying to have one.
There's your homework for tonight, everyone. Go tweet this at your ex. It'll be fun. So that's it for today. Go forth and tweet podcast links at your ex, people. Until next time, this has been Locked On NHL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.